Thank you. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. The date was January 1986. The location was Stonington, Connecticut. If you don't know where that is, it's about 2.5 hours northeast of New York City on I-95, about 15 minutes from the Rhode Island border. And so I was settling down to watch the Super Bowl between the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots. And I had just gotten 2 Guinnesses from the refrigerator and a box of Cracker Jacks. So I was settling down and I kind of began getting a headache, and it just continued. And then I started feeling really wheezy and lightheaded. And then a few minutes later, I vomited in the toilet, and that's all I really remember. The next thing I knew was my twin brother, who was also 4 minutes older than me, was kicking me because he thought I was drunk. And why do you think he thought I was drunk? Because we're Irish Catholics, and that's why we're fond of the bottle. And it really, if you go to AA meetings, they always say, "Oh, I'm Catholic," and it's like a neurotic thing. Anyway, so I went to the hospital via ambulance, and I was not amped about going to the hospital, but I had no choice. They asked me questions to keep my consciousness going. So they asked me, what's my favorite color? And I said green. And they just asked me a lot of questions just to keep me awake and aware of what's going on. And I was assigned a speech. I went to the emergency room, and I was assigned a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist all at once in the emergency room. And obviously I got a neurologist and other doctors that I think optometrist was also there. And so I was in the ICU for a few days, and they pumped me up with Dilantin and a very strong anxiety-reducing drug whose name I don't remember, but I remember it was the strongest drug I've ever taken, ever. I mean, I was watching a Bugs Bunny movie, and I didn't even know what was going on. And, of course, I had visitors when I was on this drug, and I couldn't even listen to them. I couldn't even understand what they were saying. Anyway, so a few days later, a doctor came into my room, and he was wearing a black turtleneck. He didn't look like a doctor, but he had the ID of a doctor. And he said, well, look, I know you're young and you're 32 years old, and this happened, and it's too bad, but I'm sorry. And you're going to have to deal with the cards that are dealt to you. And I kind of nodded. I couldn't really talk very well. Oh, also, the speech, I couldn't even talk when I got to the hospital. And that speech therapist got me to talk, and the physical therapist got me to walk because I was in a wheelchair for, I think a month and a half. And so anyway, this doctor said, well, these are, you have to deal with it. You can't walk away. You can't hide or, watch TV for the rest of your life, or just curl into a ball. And so I just tried to enhance my quality of life. First of all, I learned to walk. First of all, around the block where I lived in Stonington, and then got more, 2 or 3 or 4 blocks. And that was it. So I'm trying to essentially enhance my moral understanding of my life and enhance my quality of life. And I really am very thankful for all the doctors and the nurses and the therapists that helped me overcome a lot of difficult odds that were against me. And so I really appreciate it. And I also understand when I see people in wheelchairs, even today, I don't understand what they're going through essentially, but I do understand the kind of life that they live, because I really didn't like wheelchairs. I didn't like being in one. I tried to get out of the wheelchair as soon as I could. I was definitely not amped about that. So I just want to say that I just want to say some statistics about strokes in general. In general, there are 700,000 Americans that have strokes each year. Stroke is the leading cause of disability in the United States. If you go around and look at airports, you'll really see people with disabilities, and not just strokes, but other MS and other neurological problems. And so I'm trying to enhance my quality of life. I worked for Casey Lucas, who was also a professor here at NPS. And I worked for her unsuccessful campaign against one of the people that were a Democratic person whose name I don't want to talk about. But I do want to talk about, people say, oh yeah, you were so young. I was 32, but there are younger people. There's a ice skater who was 24 when she had her stroke. And she was skating on a cruise ship, and she had a stroke. And there are other people who've given birth who have had strokes when they were giving birth. And African Americans strokes among African Americans are more prevalent in the African American community than the white community. And it's very low for Asian Americans. And so I just want to end by saying that it really was a stroke of luck that I had the medical situation, because I'm more grateful for life and for other people. So that's all. Thank you.
Chris, you always inform me with your speeches. I leave the room knowing something that I didn't before. But today you did inspire me as well. I learned some things about stroke too, but you were inspiring, and that is exactly what your objective was for your number 10 speech in the Competent Communicators Manual. Inspire your audience. You were brilliant at setting the scene. I loved how you opened it up with the date was and the location. It really set the scene for us. And I thought it was also great to not mention that it was a stroke until later on when you were talking about statistics. We knew because of the title of your speech, Stroke of Luck, and then you describing your symptoms. But I thought it was nice that, not nice, sorry Arnie, it was a brilliant way to do it, I thought, to structure it. You had great humor, and I've never tried that combo of Guinness and and the Cracker Jacks, I'll have to try that. But being a recovering Catholic, I love your Irish Catholic jokes. Here's how I think you can improve it. Your organization and flow was a little bit jumbled. I think you had a great framework, but the transitions in between could be improved upon. For instance, you were talking about being in the hospital, and then you went on to something else, and then you remembered, and so you came back to that hospital scene. You brought in the statistics, but then you were also bringing in a younger person who had strokes. Just the way that it transitioned was a little choppy. Still great information though. It was definitely inspiring, but I think you could have amped up this inspiration even more by giving us personal stories and examples, real life examples of how the stroke has taught you lessons. What are those lessons? I think that would really pull us in even more and inspire us. I think that is all I have in my notes. I did like how you concluded it and how you have made it be a gift and blessing in your life. I think that you're way ahead of the game in doing that. And I congratulate you on finishing your number 10 speech. I even have a ribbon to give you for this. I look forward to the next manual or pathway you're going to take, Chris, because you are not finished yet. Thank you.